Welcome again, Keepers of Light, and I call you that because you are just that, Keepers of Light. I was on here earlier today, had posted a video, but the audio was horrible. So I did post it, and once I got to re-listening to it, I decided to pull it. So it was out for like a couple hours, I believe. So a few of you may have listened to it already, and hopefully you're able to make out from it the messages that that are might have been helpful to you. If not, I'm here again just to really summarize what it is that I had said there. I can't make it over again. I can't make it the same over again, but it is what it is. And so what I had been talking about was it was kind of like flowing from the video that I did last time around when I talked about the ocean of life and how, because when I tapped into the field, our collective field earlier, the what I was seeing was that the message was about thoughts, and thoughts kind of in that same way of looking at their that existence could be perceived of as that we are in a pool of thoughts, and that we are surrounded by a pool of thoughts and thinking um, vehicles, thinking vessels, who we are, and that we're always influenced by thought, and that we are always communicating in this way, whether it is that we're conscious of it and having conversations and arguments and whatnot, and that we continue those conversations within ourselves in these inner dialogues sometimes. And sometimes some people, I'm not necessarily sure to what extent everyone is conscious of it, but to those who are, you may be able to pick up that you're having these inner monologues, and that there's a continuation of thinking happening within the energetic system of the human being, and that this is always the case. And there are moments where, you know, so one of the things that I am here to remind people to do is to learn how to create these boundaries that allow for you to step into the non-thinking aspects of beingness. Um, it's really, this whole site and this whole channel is really just me helping people to. I'm an initiator, so what I do is I initiate people to messages that they're needing to hear. I initiate keepers of light to messages that they may be needing to hear at particular periods of time when they do come across these words that will be helpful at the time that they do. In that way, that people who run across me really are at a point where they're ready for this type of information. Maybe not completely, maybe to different levels, but you wouldn't be here if you weren't necessarily ready for hearing some of it. And what I was saying earlier was really talking about how if we learn how to understand that to understand reality at this the macrocosmic ways, the ways in which there are commonalities, whether it is that you're looking at life as an ocean, or life as like a system of thoughts, or life as a system of light. It kind of really doesn't matter what metaphor that you use, but these are very useful ways of separating yourself away from the existing um, ways of being, the existing structures of beingness, so that you're kind of engaging in life from that non-physical love perspective of beingness that has been ignored for so long, and that is now coming back to focus as a way of upgrading the way in which we interact with one another, so that because now we're upgrading our energetic systems by doing so. Uh, so I talked about death, and I talked about how we could learn how to reperceive what death is, and that death itself, I think like what I'm saying isn't necessarily all that new to most of you, but hey, it's coming through. It is all connected. So sometimes I wind up, saying the obvious. And so, if we were to learn how to perceive death as in a continuation of life, which is more so like an upgrade to that soul's life purpose, having already determined that their life journey is over on this particular realm, and this realm on earth is more like this linear construct of how to now interpret these these forms of communication that we are all always engaged in, whether we are conscious of it or not. We're at a period of time where what is subconscious is what is now being made conscious. So most of what I'm talking about is really at the subconscious level, how we are operating, so that I can, help you bring awareness, to learn how to bring awareness to yourself of these aspects of reality, which are what really constitutes change and what really constitutes transformation. Whether we're looking at death, and death in itself is something that we're all meeting at all periods of time. Life and death occur at this paradoxical realm of reality. Life and death are one and the same. Um, so that what happens during like the death of a physical being's life journey is that there is a parting, there is a transformation in that way, that the soul now is moving along its path to more to whatever it is that it's deciding that it's its next journey. There is a changing, a transformation at that period of time where one element of the structure of beingness moves in a completely new direction, and then leaves behind that which it no longer needs. We'll kind of look at that analogy. We can use that same analogy when we're looking at our own lives, where by any time we're experiencing change, that we're actually experiencing a death. Um, that there is a departure from that which is not working, that which is no longer necessary or needed, that is occurring because it is an aspect of evolution. And so, one way to kind of look at what's happening in terms of any type of huge changes that are happening is that we are at a death, but at the same time there's a rebirth when there is death. I didn't kind of say any of this like in the first audio. Something new always comes through because I'm always like branching off to like different directions. But I will try and hit like on the major messages that I had from earlier. And the reason why I was bringing up death was just how it is related to the next step of evolution, where we're upgrading our sense of self as being non-physical as well as physical. There there is an opening to the potential of the acceptance that we are both physical and non-physical, and that what has gone wrong, and those components that have really kind of set things awry as pertaining to the soul being able to live out its journey in the highest potential that it can, is because of the fact that we have been conditioned to being attached to the physical form and being attached to ways of being that really are that we're really naturally not supposed to be attaching to. There is this aspect of understanding that reality itself, that the way that it exists, it is supported, particularly on this particular earth realm, it is supported with both the physical and the non-physical. That experience itself is a summation of physical and non-physical. And to leave out the physical creates that sort of imbalance where now um, the experience of what was being reached for by that higher level perspective that entered into the experience in the first place, the soul's journey isn't easy to attain, because now there's a disempowerment happening, because there is an attachment to only one aspect of the the unfolding of experience that was intended to be a full experience of unfolding. So we're only really kind of ever picking, or have been picking, the more disempowering components of experience, and now there's an opening to the expansion of the human being to experience more of more of itself in its expansive nature. Okay, what else was I saying earlier? I talked about the ancestors, and did I talk about it here too? I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot. I talked about ancestors, and in my life, all of the souls that have departed, I mean, even the ones who I kind of didn't really have like actual physical contact with, there are many who just kind of gather around me. And it's not like, see, it's how I'm perceiving them to be around me, but I think that the actual reality is that they're within me. Because what I feel happening with me is kind of like there are certain karmic life um, bondages that I am here cutting away from in my own life, and that there are certain souls who are in the same sort of frequency that I am in, who who show up as ancestors, because I am a part of that energetic stream, who continue to live and flow through me, so that they're kind of helping me to convey these messages. In fact, like one of the channeled messages that I did a while back was from the ancestors themselves speaking through me, and really kind of expressing how we've been limiting ourselves by this misperceived sense of loyalty, by hanging on to just things that don't work. And so my message is really kind of has been the same, but it's because I'm here kind of, and I've said this before, I exist in a multidimensional, and you exist in a multidimensional way of being. That there are many layers to who you are that haven't been explored, and that now we're at this period of time where we're learning how to explore and expand our perception. And in that case, we're coming more and more into contact into about these multidimensional aspects of conversation that are unfolding like in this moment. So, the ancestors are kind of, they're at a cellular level existing within us. And so when we conceive of death, it kind of doesn't make sense to me, because my experience is that they're a part of me, and that, you know, the united harmonic field is really all that really exists, and that we are here experiencing what our focus point of attention has been created to focus on, at these periods of time of incarnation. And I know that for me, what I'm finding is that my journey is taking me to a point where I'm here to experience that the human perspective at that level, whereby I've explored it enough to understand its macrocosmic uh, existence, so that at a micro at a microcosmic level, I am able to determine and to live from within the space of free will and free choice, to disconnect myself from those aspects that I am determining are no longer working and functioning. And so in many ways, like, the ancestors kind of are having a party with me, because the more that I'm able to let go of, the more that they are able to also experience, through me, those very same limiting um, aspects of their beingness being freed, the aspects that they had experienced, that now they are also able to do that. And so if you're listening to these words, it's because you also exist, and have this potential of freeing yourself in that same way. And as you do so, consider that you are potentially also freeing um, the bloodline of souls who have been, and who are the summation of who you are now and who you are becoming. That they are added benefits to your experience of being here. And in that way, it's like another element of focusing on the non-physical aspects of reality that will help you empower yourself. I mean, if we're kind of looking at death and all we're saying about it is like how everything's over, and that we're regretting certain things, and all these ways that we can perceive death, that I'm not saying not to do, but I'm saying once you're done doing that, it could be very helpful to um, to to use this particular moment, which is the only moment that we ever have, to explore the blessing that it presents as a whole, by not leaving behind the experience that it could present for you, were you to explore the other nature of its existence. Because in this polaric plane, there's always both. Like, there's always, it's the same it's the same experience, but there's two sides to it. And by leaving one out, you know, and this is why we have problems with with race. I mean, it's really like we're playing this game where we're saying like we're this one being, but we're saying like, okay, this side is better than that side. It kind of really doesn't make any sense, really. Death is the same thing. Like, everything is really a concept, and it's not to say that, because I think sometimes there's like this disconnect that happens when you start talking about life as being like a projection, and life being like a more illusory in nature. Like, it could be perceived of as being disempowering, in that way that now you could kind of assume that, oh, um, you know, if things don't really exist, then why am I here? Like, why does it matter? And it's like, well, you can answer that yourself, because you're having an experience. I mean, we're here to have an experience. And I've gone off in tangent and another tangent, but I'm trying to see what else I talked about earlier. Um, I actually hit on multidimensionality in a way that I didn't earlier, and I had looked on my notes and I saw that I had written the word. What did I write? I had written, oh, telepathic beings. Oh, empathic beings. So yeah, the human being is an empathic being, and I think I'm going to end it here because it's 1920. 19 minutes. I'm going to work with this concept, and then do another session. There's so much to talk about. So we as human beings, we're empathic beings. That just means that we're always picking up on information from one another, and this information, a lot of it is invisible in nature. A lot of it operates at a subconscious level, which appears to be invisible, but but it only ever remains that way if we don't put a focus to it. And so that's why I'm here, because I'm like, let's start putting a focus on these other aspects of reality. Because once you do, you will find that these topics which you were trying to run away from, possibly, like spirituality, or, um, like mysticism, all these topics that I came in here like ready to talk about, and I'm like scaring people away because, yeah. So anyway, once we put a focus to those aspects, we start to experience the fuller picture about what's really happening. We start to wake up from the dream of of what we believe reality to be, and then to actually start experiencing what reality actually is, and that is empowering. So as empathic beings, we're affecting one another, and we can't ignore that. We have to account for that, and we have to start learning how to create those type of boundaries, proper effective boundaries. I'm not talking about like, oh, I'm just going to shut people out because, oh, you get into my nerves. What? No, I'm talking about figuring out and tapping into, which is why connecting to your higher um, level consciousness of being is important, because there you can figure out the map of your soul, of your soul's desires, connect to that, and then from there you can create your boundaries about, about what ways in which you're going to be living, um, living your soul's purpose, but at the same time doing so in a cooperative manner. Because so far, what we've been doing is living like in a very parasitic way. We're like an organism that's kind of eating itself up. But we can, and the way that we are able to function successfully in allowing for the possibility that every soul gets to experience its highest level of achievement that it's looking to have in terms of an experience here. It does require that we all learn how to wake up from the dream that this space here is limited to our being able to do so in the first place. And uh, I guess I could go on and on and on, but I'm going to leave the recording here. And let me see. I'm going to look at the notes again really quickly, because sometimes when when I listen back, sometimes I realize like, okay, you did tie everything together, but there are moments like when I'm going on and on and on like this, or at the end, I'm like, I don't even know if I tied everything together in a way that actually makes sense, like in a linear sort of fashion. So I kind of I take these non-linear concepts. They're kind of like everywhere, and then I create like a linear mapping of them so that I can share, like in a way that you can come away and be like, oh, I'm going to come back and listen again later. Or, yeah, you know what? That actually makes sense. I have to be able to hit those points where it's making sense, like logical sense, because we are logical beings, and at the basic level of beingness, as it pertains to earth life, there is a way for the mind, for us to work with the mind as a as a tool of empowerment, but we have to be able to connect to the mind in that linear fashion that that learns how to see through the obstructions, like the way that I was saying with the other video. I was talking about just learning how to see through obstructions, which is kind of like learning how to see through density. And we're kind of learning how to see through density, and once we learn how to see through density, then now we can start to work in an efficient way, in a way that's not parasitic to one another and to ourselves, um, because now we are and have created a mapping of reality that is followable, a mapping of reality that is and exists in flow, rather than as an obstruction as a vehicle of creating obstructions or never ending obstructions. Not that obstructions won't ever appear, but that the obstructions, once you learn how to see through like the real dense material, like these are like topics about like security, about death, about, once we've worked our ways through seeing through those illusions, then yeah, of course there's always going to be like higher and higher levels of awareness that we can aspire towards, and that other souls and other cosmic beings of constructions of realities are about, ones that are that are existing at this very moment to be helping us out at this particular moment in time. I mean, flowing through me too. Oh God, I'm just saying a lot. So I gotta bring myself back to earth here. Yeah, so I just wanted to re-welcome you here again. I'm planning to have my website up within a month, and I'm planning to open the door to start to be working with people in several different ways, and you're going to be able to see that from the website. And I just wanted to say, just to kind of end it, I'll say a couple things. The first is that I was saying this earlier about how like I'm more so like an initiator than I am the type of person where you need to, always be coming back to over and over again. Like, we're not at this period of time whereby we're needing that sort of codependent relationship with other people. I Everyone, okay, so if you're like to imagine like a race, like a, when they have pass the batons, whatever it is, like the relays, is it relays? Yeah, relays. And I'm probably like, I can call myself like, oh, I got the first baton, and then maybe you've got the second baton, and then the other person's got the third and the fourth. I just wanted to create this kind of like environment where people are understanding that I'm sharing information, but not because there's anything greater that I'm doing than what you're doing. Like, we're all here just having an experience. It just so happens that my experience is to express and then to share like that, those first words. And then your experience may be like, oh, I'm going to take those words and then I'm going to use them to rebuild the earth, rebuild things. Like, there are many of you who are multi-talented beings who are here to kind of like live up to your highest sense of fulfillment in whatever ways that you wish to explore that. And we are right now at a point of potentiality that is so expansive that if we just work together and that we all do our part, like me just showing up here in this way, and then you using the words and then doing your part, empowering yourself. I was saying earlier, like in the other video, that I can never take credit for you, for your empowerment, your sense of self empowerment, whether it is that you're attaining that from having heard something that I've said, but I can take credit for coming here and expressing in ways that I never would have before because I was scared to shit to do it. So, oh shit, I cursed. So yeah, anyway, um, just us showing up in our highest light. We are keepers of light, showing up in our own ways in our highest light. And I'm doing so this way. And I am here to work with you so that you can show up in the highest light possible for yourself, so that not only are you showing up in that way, but that you are expansively showing up in that way, so that when we all do so, we are all contributing to one another in that cooperative way, in that unified harmonic field sort of way that I have always seen as what was intended for the earth human experience to be. And then the second thing is that it's my birthday tomorrow. So it's my birthday tomorrow. I don't know whether or not I'm going to be coming on here, is what I was saying earlier. It depends on whether or not I sense a message coming through. If I do, I'll be here. If not, I'm going to repost the activation. It's a light language activation. Now, there's there's a lot of people who could be triggered from light language just because it's so different and it's just a whole different animal in itself. It's just a form of expression. Uh, However, there are because of how I channel it, I'm connecting to like a pure source of connection to my highest level of understanding of source consciousness. Then in that way, there's codes involved within um, the light language sessions that I do, and they work as activations. So I did do one on my birthday last year, and I'm gonna repost it. The only part I didn't like about it was that it just carried on a little too long. When I re-listened to it later, I'm like, how in the hell did you just how did you just go on and on and on like that? But who knows? Maybe you all gonna enjoy that. But you're all gonna enjoy how long it is. But for me, it's like I could have cut it earlier. But other than that, it's a powerful activation. I'll repost it. If I somehow forget to do so, it will just be looking back a year to March 12th in 2023 for it, and you will find it there. So I'm gonna uh, take off now, and I'm wishing you all wellness, and I'm looking forward to our next session together. Until then.